The groan of the rusty water pump was the first sound of Leo's day, a grinding, metallic protest that echoed the ache in his own bones. Leo Cruz stood in the small, dusty yard behind his trailer, the Kansas sun already baking the cracked earth. At 49, he was a man carved from worry and hard luck. His face was a road map of faded dreams, his hands calloused from a lifetime of fixing things that were never truly his to keep. He lived in a single-wide trailer at the edge of a forgotten town. His job was as a night watchman at a shuttered textile mill. His existence was a flat, gray line. The one spark of color was his collection of old, broken watches and faded postcards of quiet rebellion against the emptiness. But today, even that felt hollow. The final notice was nailed to his door. They were selling the land. He had 30 days to come up with $15,000 or be homeless. The sum was an impossible mountain. The weight of it settled in his chest, a cold, dense stone of certainty. Needing to outrun the panic, he tackled the small, external storage shed. It was a hot, airless box, smelling of old gasoline and regret. In the very back, shrouded in a dusty canvas tarp, was a long, low chest he didn't recognize. It was made of dark, heavily grained wood, banded with tarnished iron. With a grunt, Leo dragged the heavy chest into the center of the shed. The lock was a massive, archaic thing. It took him 20 minutes of sweating effort with a pry bar before the hasp finally shattered with a loud crack. He lifted the lid. The interior was a jumble of old maps and leather-bound ledgers. Disappointment began to curl in his gut. More junk. He was about to slam the lid shut when his fingers brushed against something smooth and cool. He pulled it out. It was a box, but it was unlike any box he had ever seen. It was carved from a single piece of wood so dark it was almost black, yet it seemed to have a faint, internal luminescence. The surface was intricately carved with patterns that seemed to shift and move if he didn't look at them directly. It was seamless. A perfect, enigmatic cube. Leo felt a flicker of curiosity. He turned the box over in his hands. It was warm to the touch. He pressed, he pulled, he tried to twist it. Nothing. Frustrated, he did the only thing he hadn't tried. He spoke to Italiano. "Some help you are," he muttered. "Could have used a stack of $100 bills in you." It was a joke, a bitter, empty plea. He set the box down and went back inside, the grim reality closing in once more. The night was long and sleepless. When the sun finally rose, Leo drove to the town's only bank. He needed to see the pitiful number in his savings account. He slid his card into the flickering ATM. The machine whirred. The screen resolved. Leo stared. Account balance, $1,500,000. $1,500,000. A choked gasp escaped his lips. He printed the statement. There it was. His name. His account number. The balance. The transaction description was blank. He drove home in a trance. The world looked the same, but it was fundamentally different. His mind latched on to the only impossible variable, T-Bucks. T-Bucks. He ran to the storage shed. The box was where he'd left it, but it was different. The carvings seemed deeper, and it was glowing. A soft, pulsing, golden light epicetted up. It was warmer, humming with energy. A hairline crack appeared on top. He pressed his thumb against it, and with a soft sigh, the top slid open. Inside, on dark velvet, was a single, smooth, obsidian stone and a slender stylus made of the same dark, glowing wood. He picked up the stone. It was cool. Words appeared on its surface in swirling, elegant symbols, their meaning clear in his mind. Interface active. Awaiting input. He had to test it. He picked up the stylus. It felt alive in his hand. He touched the tip to the stone and wrote in clumsy, golden a script of fresh apple, right here. The writing shimmered, then dissolved. A new line appeared. Directive acknowledged. Manifesting. The air crackled. A brief, blinding flash of golden light. On the dusty crate where the box had been sat a single, perfect, red apple. It picked it up. It was cool and firm. It took a bite. The crunch was deafening. It was the most real, undeniable thing he had ever experienced. A wave of euphoria washed over him. He laughed. He had the power. He experimented cautiously. He wished for the rusty water pump to be fixed. It moved with silent, hydraulic precision. He wished for his truck's dead battery to be charged. The engine roared to life. Each wish was followed by the golden text. Directive acknowledge. Manifested, he learned the rules. It. Ad. Limits. It could not manipulate conscious will or break physical laws. And then, he discovered the cost. He wished for a vintage pocket watch. It appeared on his workbench, but a wave of nausea and bone-deep weariness overcame him. He felt drained, hollowed out. He looked at the stone. New text appeared in a cool, silvery light. Energy expenditure. Moderate. Biovital essence depletion. 3%. Leo's blood ran cold. Biovital SNC. It was using his life force as fuel. The power had a price, and the price was him. This chilling revelation cut through his euphoria. He sat on a crate, the apple core in his hand. This was a transaction, a devil's bargain. He decided on extreme caution. He paid for the trailer plot with a bank check. He paid off his truck. He stayed in his trailer. The money was a shield. The box was a sword he was terrified to unsheath. But the world notices when a man's spirit is no longer crushed. His boss commented on his calm demeanor. The waitress, Saran, noticed he held her gaze longer. He used the box sparingly for tiny, anonymous good deeds. He wished for the diner's broken jukebox to work. That night, it played a perfect Patsy Cline song. He was becoming a silent, unseen custodian. But power casts a shadow. Leo's shadow was noticed by Silas Vane, the owner of the trailer park. A vulture in a cheap suit. Vane had been looking forward to evicting Leo. When Leo paid in full, Vane's greedy eyes narrowed with suspicion. He learned about the massive deposit. He heard whispers. He didn't believe in magic. He believed in secrets. One evening, Vane's truck pulled alongside Leo. Cruz. Heard you came into some money. Leo's heart stuttered. Something like that. Funny. I know all the rich uncles. You don't have any. You found something on my land. It belongs to me. It was my grandfather's, Leo said. Anything dug up on my land is mine, Vane lied. Hand it over, or I can make your life very difficult. Panic seized Leo. He led him to the shed. He pointed to the box. Vane snatched it up. How does it work? You just. Speak to it, Leo said. A desperate plan forming. Speak to it. Vane scoffed. He shook the box. I wish for $1 million. Right now. Nothing happened. You're lying to me, Cruz. Vane snarled, pulling a knife. Tell me how it really works. In that moment, Leo did the only thing he could. He looked at Vane, at his bloated greed, and he willed a command to the box. I wish for Silas Vane to possess the true, physical weight of his greed. The box began to glow. A deep, angry, red light. The air grew thick, heavy. The golden chains around Vane's neck grew darker, denser. The rings on his fingers constricted. He gasped, clutching his chest. It's so heavy, he choked out. He collapsed, the physical mass of his avarice, crushing him. He wasn't being buried in money. He was being suffocated by it. Make it stop. Bane, wheezed. Leo focused. Stop. Reverse it. The red glow faded. The weight lifted. Vane lay gasping. He looked at Leo with primal fear. He scrambled to his feet and fled. Leo slumped against the wall, exhausted. He picked up the stone. Energy expenditure. Significant. Biovital essence depletion. 25%. 25%. A quarter of his life. Gone. He felt it immediately, a deep, permanent ache. Silas Vane never bothered him again. He left town a month later, a broken man. The encounters solidified Leo's resolve. He had to be smarter. He found a confidant in the town's elderly librarian, Mrs. Gable. She became his conscience. He used the box to ensure a scholarship, found a deserving student. He repaired the church roof. He redirected a chemical spill. Each act cost him another fraction of his life. The silvery numbers added up. 20%. 15%. 10%. He was spending his tomorrows to better the todays of others. He found a strange peace in that. The tiredness was constant. His hair turned gray, but his eyes held a new light. Mrs. Gable looked at him with sad eyes. Leo, you must rest. The world's problems are not yours alone. But I can solve these, he said. His voice thin but firm. No one else can. He read about a fire at a foster home in a neighboring county. The children were safe, but the building was a total loss. Leo knew what he had to do. It would be his final wish. He went to the shed alone. The walk was long and painful. He opened the box. The stone glowed warmly. He picked up the stylus, his hand shaking with effort. He wrote his final directive. I wish for the Hope's Harbor Foster Home to be fully restored, exactly as it was before the fire, with every belonging returned to its place. He set the stylus down. The fatigue was total, a gentle, welcoming pull. He leaned back. He saw it in his mind's eye, the charred timbers glowing, the ash swirling into toys and beds, the walls rising. It was a symphony of restoration. Leo Cruz closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. Mrs. Gable found him the next day. The box was closed on his lap. The stone inside was dark. On its surface, the final message glowed before fading. Directive acknowledged. Manifested. Sanctuary restored. Energy expenditure. Total. Biovital essence. Depletion. 100%. In a neighboring county, a social worker opened the doors to the foster home. A cry of joy echoed. The building stood perfect, untouched. Inside, a teddy bear waited patiently. They would never know the name Leo Cruz. And in a quiet shed, a poor man who had discovered the price of everything and the value of everything else had finally paid his debt in full. He had not died a millionaire. He had died a keeper of hope.